Hello, this is Jonathan with Steel Bear Academy. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of my exploration into the pump shotgun world. So I made a video a little while back about comparing the Remington 870 to the Mossberg 590, and that one seemed to be a pretty popular one. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about pump shotguns. So I think that most people, after they get their first gun, they tend to want to branch out a little bit and they want to try some other types of guns. And the pump shotgun is one that is often chosen as a second gun or a third gun or a fourth gun, or in my case, a manyth gun. So the pump shotgun draws a lot of people to it. Part of the reason is because they're relatively inexpensive and people love the Hollywood factor, you know, hearing that racking of the slide. People love hearing that. And for good reason. It's a lot of fun. And so I've kind of delved a little bit into the pump shotgun world and explored a little bit and seen what I like and what I don't like. So let me share with you what I've learned. And through my time with the shotguns, with the pump shotguns, what I've come to discover for myself is that I think the Benelli Supernova is the best pump shotgun on the market. I know that's some pretty bold statement, but let me explain why I think that is. So I will start off by saying it is not a perfect shotgun. I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect gun at all. Every gun has pros and cons. Every gun has something they give up to get something else, and some things are mutually exclusive. You can't have both a super lightweight gun and also a gun that soaks up recoil really well, because those two things are generally incompatible. You might be able to kind of get away with doing some mechanical, contraption that soaks up recoil in some other way, but weight is either there or it's not. It's either heavy or it's not. So let me talk about why I think the Benelli Supernova is the best pump shotgun you can buy. So the first thing is build quality. And when I'm talking about the best shotgun, the pump shotgun, it's really in relation to other shotguns. So you probably see back here we have a Remington 870. This one started life as a hardwood home defense model. So what that means is it is a express model, so it has the express finish and it has the express, controls and the express parts on it. But it did start with some wood furniture, so stock and forend were wood at the beginning. This one came from the factory with an extended magazine tube. So this is going to be our kind of comparison. I used to have a Mossberg 590, but I actually sold that one because I wasn't really into it that much, and I would much rather have the money to buy something else that I do like more. But not to say it's a bad gun, but just not my cup of tea, not the thing that I like the best. And I probably, I could think of that I bought this Supernova to replace it. So the first thing I want to talk about is build quality. So as you may or may not know, the Remington 870 has been around a really long time, like more than 50 years, like 60, 70 years, something like that. A very long time. It's the most popular shotgun ever produced, and hopefully it comes back soon under a company that does the name justice for it. But it's super popular. However, over the years it has diminished in quality significantly, to the point where in the 90s, somewhere in there in the 90s, it was almost like laughably bad. Like, how could anyone produce such a low quality shotgun? Not to say the design is not good, but the method in which they made sure that they polished the chamber was not good, and some of the parts inside were not so good. The finish on the expresses is notoriously bad, or notorious for rusting, even worse than just regular bluing, which is saying something. That's really bad. And my experience with this particular shotgun has not been too bad as far as the finish, but another 870 that I had, the one I showed in the other video, that one definitely had some rust problems, and that's why it was painted. But this one's doing better, so perhaps they're improving their quality control. But build quality. So the finish on this gun is not the best. The ruggedness and the robustness of the parts, meaning like how long are they going to go without breaking. I haven't tested the Supernova long enough to know whether or not I think that it is really like that much better than just a regular 870 that cost $350 or whatever this one cost. The Benelli Supernova costs like probably like $550 right now in 2021 for the tactical model. They might be a little cheaper for the hunting models. This started life as a Supernova tactical. Build quality. I keep getting distracted. So sorry about that. Let's see. So the finish. That's the main thing. The finish and the, let's say, the ruggedness of the little parts inside. I don't have the best confidence in the 870 nowadays anymore. You know, the third model that isn't here is the 590. When I worked at a gun store, we had many Mossbergs come back for all sorts of reasons. The quality control on those guns, the Mossberg in general, is not that great. I don't think the Mossberg I had was pretty good. It did have it had been shot quite a bit, so I think that its magazine spring tube was getting a little tired, but that one was fine. But working at that store definitely made me have a different appreciation for that constant battle of which is the best pump shotgun, the 870 or the Mossbergs. And the Mossbergs, you know, are the ones that beat out the military for the, beat out the 870 for those military contracts. So, you know, there's something to be said about the Mossberg in that the writing, you know, it speaks for itself, those military contracts. But as far as the commercial use, those Mossbergs came back in quite large numbers. The 870s did not come back in large numbers. I think I can only think of one that I know of that ever came back. I don't even really remember what was wrong with it. I think it was a silly thing, like it lost its magazine cap or something. But the Mossbergs seem to be having a little bit more trouble with the quality control. You know, I don't want to sound brand myopic or brand specific, but Benelli is synonymous with like the best quality shotguns you can buy, except for maybe like, you know, the super high-end custom shop ones. But production-wise, the Benelli brand is known for the best shotguns pretty much. I can't think of, maybe Browning might be the other one that is kind of known for being the best. Maybe Beretta actually owns Benelli, so perhaps they're kind of lumped in together. But Benelli shotguns are incredibly high quality, like really good. They're not, you know, no manufacturer is perfect. Every manufacturer can have some blunders, but I think by and large, people are very happy with their Benelli products. And I'm very happy with this one. I don't have any complaints about this gun. As far as the build quality goes, I feel like the Supernova has this kind of like plastic overmolded on steel. Let's see if I have a way to show you that. Not really. I don't really have a way to show you that, but basically there's like this is like a plastic shell enclosing a steel receiver. So it's actually more similar to the 870 than the Mossberg in that regard. It's got a steel receiver as well. But the build quality on this thing is fantastic. I don't have any doubt that this gun is going to outlast me and probably 5 other generations. I think this gun will still keep on kicking. Perhaps the only thing that might need to be replaced is like springs and maybe this forend if the action bars get you know, worn down over time. But I don't have any doubt that this gun is fantastic quality. And I've only tested it a little bit in terms of shooting, but don't have any problems with it in terms of shooting. No problems extracting. It has a chrome lined barrel, which the 870 and the Mossberg do not have. That's just kind of a plus, you know, a one up for the Benelli. But build quality, I think that this thing is built absolutely like a tank, and the finish issues that were present on the 870 are not going to be a problem on this gun at all. The only exposed metal here is really just the barrel and the magazine tube, and you know, who knows how much abuse it can take running that finish through brush or whatever, but I think that it's probably going to hold up very well. So we'll see on that one, but I think the build quality is much better on the Benelli Supernova than it is the 870 or the 590. We'll just say the 590. Let's say the 590A1. I think the 590A1 is pretty good. From what I've seen, I've never really heard of those ones coming back, and those ones are the ones that passed that stringent military test. So let's just compare it to the 590A1. You know, I think it's probably fine, that the 590A1, but I think this thing is built even better than the ones that I've handled. As far as slickness, I would say that the Benelli Supernova is just as slick of an action as most other guns that I've held. Just kind of getting a feel for how I feel on this thing. Yeah, I think it's very slick. I have a Wingmaster 870 that is incredibly slick, that puts this gun to shame as far as slickness of the action. This action is it's pretty slick too. This one doesn't have that many rounds through it, but that Wingmaster, it's like butter gliding over butter over metal. It's awesome. It's an older Wingmaster though, so that was back before the changes to the quality control for the 870. Why else is this gun the best? I think that it has very good controls. As I mentioned in the other video, I really much prefer having my action release up here. I'm not sure if you can see that. This is the action release here, this little tab. When you push that, the forend unlocks and allows you to pull the forend back, like so. While the hammer is cocked, you can't pull back on the forend. The only way to open it is either to pull the trigger, and that opens the forend, or you can push on this button to release the forend, and then you can pump it. I like having the control up here. There's another shotgun that is very similar to this gun. It's the Stoeger P3000. It is basically a Supernova copy or a Supernova clone, except that the control is a kind of weird one. It's basically like they took the exact same semi-auto like action release or slide lock. It does a bunch of stuff on the Benellis. It's basically like a little silver lever that's kind of like right here, and it doesn't jut out enough so that you can't really find it easily. You have to kind of, there it is, and hold it here with more like your tip of your finger, as opposed to here you can really pinch it with the whole pad of your thumb. Much more like the 870. I think that position for the action release is better than having it back here behind the trigger guard. I've talked about it before. Basically, the only times I would ever need to hit the action release is if I'm unloading my gun, which in a tactical shotgun, why are you unloading your shotgun? That's silly. But the other reason is if you wanted to change your ammunition, which, you know, if you have enough time to change your ammunition mid self-defense encounter, like it makes me question whether or not that self-defense encounter is really so pressing that you can't do something else with your time, like run or shoot, you know, something like that. I know people are going to get upset with that, but basically, in a citizen-involved self-defense encounter, meaning not law enforcement or military, it seems quite silly to put so much emphasis on that I want to be able to quickly unload my chamber. I want to be able to quickly, without changing my firing grip, pull my gun out of battery. Like, why? That doesn't make any sense. So I think that whole keeping it back here, like on the Mossberg or the 1300 or the Winchester SXP, which is a clone of the Winchester 1300, modern iteration really. You know, to have it back here, it is certainly more convenient, but why? You don't need it up. You don't need it back there. I much prefer to have it here out of the way And if I am going to open my action, I don't really need to have my finger on the trigger because my action's open. I can't shoot the gun anyway. So that's my thoughts on that. And I like it here because it, like I said, I can easily touch it and feel it and pinch it and use it without kind of like fishing underneath something like on the Stoeger. And it's very similar to the 870. I think the 870 also has the better action release of most shotguns nowadays. It's on the other side, by the way. So on the Supernova, it's on the right side. On the 870, it's on the other side. I think both are perfectly fine, but I don't really have a preference either way. Either way, you have to shift your grip up to release the action. Let's see. My next point. Oh, well, since we're here, since we're talking about controls, one of the big selling points for the Supernova or Benelli, actually, I don't know if you'd even call it a selling point, a feature of those guns is this little button right here. So what that button does is, let's say you have a round in the chamber and several rounds in the magazine. If you slightly open your action and let it open just a little bit, and then you push this button, when you pull the pump back, it won't dump a new round from your magazine tube onto the lifter. So you pull it back, a round dumps out, you put it back wherever you want to put it. You've still got all your rounds in the tube, but now you have an empty lifter that you can take some special round and put it in there and chamber your special round. And the way they sell this is that you might want to like change to a slug, you know, do a slug changeover. If you have all buckshot in here and you all of a sudden you want a slug to maybe, or you know, maybe you're hunting and you're shooting birds or something and all of a sudden you want to go shoot a pig that runs by. I guess that's a decent enough reason to want this. I don't really find this to be a benefit, but perhaps under certain circumstances it could be. I wouldn't, for me it was not a selling point at all. I wasn't like, yes, it's got that thing. I finally have that thing that I've always wanted on my pump shotgun. No, not really. It's kind of a neat feature, and so long as it doesn't inadvertently get pushed, I don't really care that it's there. It can't be pushed while your pump is closed, and it's in such a position that it doesn't, you can't push on it without having a deliberate like small digit push on it. So I can't push on it with my full palm. So I don't really have a problem with it being there. I'd prefer it wasn't, honestly. I don't particularly like it, but it's not a detriment to this gun. And perhaps it's an upside to somebody. So I think this gun has the best control setup for any pump shotgun. It's got the safety right here. Much, you know, it's a crossbolt safety, much like an 870. The 870 is back here, I believe. Yeah, it's back there, but it's a crossbolt safety. Either is fine. I would say that if you're left-handed, then you're definitely going to prefer the Mossberg with the ambidextrous tang-mounted safety up here, or the Browning BPS also has the tang-mounted safety up here. Both of those are good. The only downside is, you probably do know, if you have a pistol grip, then that safety is in totally the wrong spot. You have to totally change your grip all the way up here, click it, come all the way back down to your pistol grip. So this type is more flexible, but it's less lefty friendly. So if you're lefty, then you're probably going to like the BPS or the Mossberg pattern. But for me, I'm perfectly happy with the crossbolt safety. Generally, I'm not using my safety in a tactical environment, if you call it that. Generally, I try to keep all of my guns off safe unless I'm like at the range, or unless I'm in the process of doing something that isn't shooting. Like if I'm pausing for a little bit and I set my gun down, then I'll put it on safe. But if I'm in the moment of doing stuff, if I'm shooting at targets or I'm changing my magazine, I'm not putting it back on safe. I'm just keeping it off safe and as always, your ultimate safety is keeping your finger off the trigger anyway, so perhaps best not to rely on the safety, only use it during the administrative stuff. But that's just me. I would say there's definitely a safety benefit to using the safety, but even then we come back full circle, don't rely on the safety. So those are my thoughts on those. The sights on this gun are kind of interesting. They are rifle sights. So if you see, hopefully you can see down the sights, they are basically like blacked out rifle sights, like kind of like a handgun basically. It's got a U in the back and a post in the front. And the reason I chose these, this gun comes in 2 sighting configurations. It doesn't come in a bead sight. So the 870 does come with a bead sight. In fact, that's kind of the most popular configuration. I am perfectly happy with a bead. It's a very fast acquisition target system. It's very fast to get your sights on target. All you basically do is, so long as you've got the correct length stock and it fits your body, you basically just bring it up and put your face against the stock and it should be right where it is, right where it needs to be. These rifle sights are the same way. They are kind of as close to a bead as you get on the Supernova. I think the Supernova, like the hunting varieties, do have the bead or some sort of bead-like system, like maybe a fiber optic tube or whatever, but the tactical only comes with the rifle sights or it comes with ghost ring sights. And I've never shot with ghost ring sights that I can think of. I've shot with like a peep sight on an AR-15. Those are probably kind of close. I won't give judgment on whether or not I think the ghost ring sights work. I think they're perfectly fine. However, if I ever wanted to mount any sort of optic up here, like a red dot or a scope or something, not to say I would, but maybe I want the option later on. You can always use a red dot with these sights, but if you have a ghost ring post up here, there's no way to get rid of that front post. So you can take off the back sight, but you can't get rid of that front post. So this sighting system is more flexible in that regard. Since we're talking about red dots, this gun happens to be drilled and tapped. So you can see on the top there, it's got those little holes. You can put a scope base or a Picatinny rail on here. So you can put a red dot or a scope on here. Most 870s are not drilled and tapped. There's a couple that are, like I think the 870 Tactical that has like a rail up here with a little peep sight in the back and an excess big dot in the front. That one is drilled and tapped, but that's like one model out of, you know, the 50 plus models of 870. So the 870 doesn't usually have that. The Mossberg does usually have that. Every one of them except for the Maverick 88, I believe, is drilled and tapped. So that one's pretty similar in that regard. I don't know if I even really want a red dot on a shotgun. It's kind of cool. It's very tactical for sure. But yeah, I haven't experimented enough with the red dot on a shotgun to know if I like it or not. I definitely like that it's cool. It's cool and it makes me feel excited about trying it out. But in terms of the practicality of it, these are incredibly accurate for what you would shoot with a shotgun. So I'm very happy with these sights, but I'd be just as happy with a bead. So it's kind of a, it's not really like a, it's kind of a wash, I guess. There's no, I'd be happy with most sighting systems. Even the ghost ring sights on like many 590 A1s have ghost rings. I think I'd probably be happy enough with those. I think they're perfectly fine. This fourth point I want to talk about is the ease of extending the capacity. This is a benefit that you only have to do, that you only get to use once. Meaning like, it's not an ongoing like, thank goodness I have the ability to easily change my capacity on my shotgun. You only have to do it once. So what I'm talking about is, this gun normally comes with a 5-round capacity, I believe. Yeah, 4+1. Or it's 5+1, I'm not sure. Most foreign-made shotguns have a capacity limit of having 5 in the magazine tube. So that's why the Winchester SXP, for example, only has 5 rounds, even though it has an 18.5-inch barrel. It could have a full-length mag tube, but it doesn't. And that's because of importing challenges. The Benelli is, another foreign-produced shotgun made in Italy. It also has a limited, capacity. It didn't come with this magazine tube. There is a couple models, I think, maybe just 1 or 2, that have the extended magazine tube from the factory, but the nice thing about these is you can extend them just by buying a part and putting it on yourself. Very easy. This is in opposition to most other pump shotguns. Most other pump shotguns, not this particular one, this one's an anomaly, but most 870 Expresses will come with this length of magazine tube. They'll end right here, which makes it a 4+1, so 4 in the mag tube. The mag tube will stop here. It holds 4 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. Normally 870 Expresses will have a cap that screws on here, and they will have dimples basically pinched into the magazine tube underneath this barrel clamp, or this barrel guide here, this metal hoop right here. They'll have dimples pinched in there to make it so that the magazine spring and everything is like all contained and doesn't spring out whenever you take the magazine cap off. As well as, I think it's a cost saving measure. It's cheaper to perhaps just dimple them and use a different like follower instead of have the other type of follower that would be used on one like this, where it still has that type of magazine cap. Not this one, but the regular one that comes with it. It's just like a dome, a little dome-shaped cap. Perhaps it's cheaper to manufacture with those dimples instead, but it sucks because then you can't change the magazine capacity super easily on an 870 Express. Like I said, this particular shotgun is different because it actually comes from the factory with this extended magazine tube. So that's actually why, part of why I chose this one, is because I didn't want to have to mess with a gun. I didn't want to have to take it to a gunsmith or try to drill out those things myself, which I had done on that other 870, the one that's painted that I showed you in another video. That one I did. I'd had to bring it to a gunsmith, and he basically he didn't drill them out. He used some sort of device that basically flushed them out to push them out. So normally they come in. He used some sort of device that made him go like this and be straight along with the magazine tube. I don't want to have to adjust. I don't want to have to do that stuff to my gun. I just want it to come from the factory with the modularity built in. So the Supernova was nice. They didn't put those dimples in. Thank you, Benelli, for doing that. I'm so glad that they didn't, because that was actually a big selling point for why I bought this gun, because I didn't want to have to do that. The Mossbergs, the 500 is notoriously bad. You cannot change the magazine capacity on those without I think you can't do it unless you replace the entire magazine tube, which you would just buy a whole new gun at that point, because it's just, you're already getting so far down the rabbit hole of changing your gun that it's becoming cost prohibitive, in my opinion. And you can't change it back easily. So there's other guns like the SXP, the Winchester, that also has dimples. The Stoeger, I don't know about that one, the P3000. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one, but they do make an extended from the factory magazine tube one, the P3000 Freedom. That one's cool. I have one of the M3K Freedoms. That's the semi-auto Stoeger, and that thing is awesome. I love it. I don't have any problems with Stoeger stuff. I think it's, if you want to get a budget version of a Supernova, that'd be a pretty good option. So those are the main reasons I think this shotgun is so cool. I think pretty much every shotgun, like pump shotgun, fulfills a tactical role pretty similarly. You know, if you have an 18.5 inch gun, like these are both 18.5 inches, they'll probably hold 6 plus 1, 7 rounds total, and you know they all shoot the same ammunition. They all recoil pretty similarly. These two shotguns recoil very similar. The Supernova actually is fairly heavy. It's I think at least it's fairly heavy. It's like 7.4 pounds or something. The 870 is also pretty close to that. The Mossberg's a little lighter, so it recoils a little more. But you know, the tactical shotguns are not that different. But when you're actually shooting them, you know, if you're just, once you have the safety off and you're pumping and shooting every time you pump, they all perform pretty much the same. Like maybe the sights are a little different, but they all make the same holes down at the end of the range or in the bad guy. So you know, we could argue all day about this stuff, but their differences are smaller than they are large, or their differences are smaller than we give them credit for, perhaps. Let's talk about what I don't like about the Supernova. This is kind of becoming a review on the Supernova, right? I think the number one problem with this gun is that there's so little aftermarket options to change anything you want on this gun. So there's only 2 styles of stock. This is the Comfortech stock, which has these little chevron things built into them, and this removable cheek piece. This is actually kind of a hard plastic one. The Super Black Eagle and many of the higher end Benelli shotguns that use the Comfortech stock have kind of this nice gel squishy pad right here, and it's nice. I haven't shot 3.5 inch with this gun, but you probably want the gel one if you're going to be shooting 3.5 inch all the time, because those things really smack your face. Even if you're holding pretty tight, they definitely smack your jaw. But I'm pleased with this stock. Just so that you're aware, there's 2 Benelli shotguns. There's the Nova, and then there's the Supernova. So this is the Supernova, and really the only difference between the two, they are the same from here up. They have the same barrel, they have the same fore end. The only difference is that the Supernova has this enlarged trigger guard, and the Supernova has removable stocks, so you can change this stock to something else. The Nova it's all molded into one piece right here. The stock is built into the receiver. Like it's all one piece. It's not changeable. I picked the Supernova because I much prefer the circumference right here. So right here where your hand wraps around, the pistol grip area, this circumference is much more comfortable than the Nova. I felt like the Nova, I was holding like a big fat 2x4. So I don't know, like a big fat cylinder, something. Don't make any jokes. So it was not comfortable to do that. The 870, this is a Hogue stock. This stock feels much better in my hands. It's much, it's like the circumference is smaller, so it feels better in my hands. But this is an aftermarket stock. It didn't come with this, I changed it out. But from what I remember, the regular 870 stock is more comfortable in terms of this dimension. So aftermarket support is a big problem with the Supernova. You don't really have any options for changing the stock. There's like, I think there's one Mesa Tactical that makes something called the Urbino stock. That one's basically like a pistol grip, A2 style, like, you know, just a regular stock. And then it's got like an adjustable piece, cheek piece here. I'm sure it's probably a fine stock, but if you don't want a pistol grip, then you're pretty much stuck with just the Comfortech stock. And, you know, I'm pretty happy with this stock. I don't really have any desire to change it, but it's nice to be able to change all your, you know, make your gun how you want it to be. The 870 is a prime example of having tons of aftermarket support. So you can change the stocks and the fore ends and the barrel and, you know, the magazine extensions, and you can change so much on this gun to make it however you want it to be. And that's really cool. And it's you know, you have to just make peace with that you're not going to get to change all that on the Supernova. One other thing I wanted to mention is you're kind of stuck with the length of pull on the Supernova. You can't really change it to be shorter, but on the because of the lack of aftermarket support. But on the 870, this is the Hogue youth stock, so it's shorter, and it really tucks in nice and tight to your body, so that if you wanted to mount it, you know, up here in your kind of pec area, and you wanted to shoot it more in line with your body as opposed to blade your body and have it running along more like a hunting shotgun, if you wanted to bring it up and use it more like a tactical shotgun, you have the option of getting a short length of pull stock. Or if you're a child, or, you know, if you're a child, maybe you should have your parents pick this up for you. But, you know, if you're a lady, someone who's smaller statured, you know, smaller statured man, or if you just want a really short length of pull, like maybe you're a cop and you got, you know, thick body armor or something that you're wearing along with this, then having that option is nice. But for cops, there's a special Supernova that they can buy that's basically like a telescoping stock. I'll put that on later. It's a telescoping stock with a pistol grip, so they have a special option for those situations that you are a cop and you want to get that stock. Another big factor that sucks about the Supernova is that all the accessories are expensive. Like on an 870, you can buy another barrel and you can have a hunting barrel, and those are like maybe $150 max, like $150 max. The Supernova hunting barrel is like $350. It's crazy expensive, to the point where you're like, I could just buy a whole Supernova basically for that price. So, you know, if you want to get other fun stuff for this, it's gonna cost a pretty penny. And you remember that gel insert that I was telling you about? That thing is like $85 to just buy this little piece here that's made of gel instead. And I'm guessing the recoil pad is none too cheap either. Benelli is not known for being cheap, not known for being inexpensive or budget friendly. This shotgun is pretty budget friendly. It's like $550. It's kind of mid-range or kind of mid-upper range of pump shotgun prices. But if you want to get other stuff for it, it's going to be expensive. The magazine extension, this was like, I think like a little bit around, maybe like around $100 for getting the extension plus this Picatinny rail clamp. So that part's not too bad. But just be ready that you're probably going to spend a lot of money if you want to accessorize your gun. And the final thing I'd say is one of the weaknesses is, you know, you can't really change the furniture, as we've talked about. The stock is a big issue that cannot be changed. You know, I really like this Hogue fore end. I love this thing. It's like tacky rubber, and it is incredibly easy to grab onto. I think that Hogue stock or the Hogue fore end is incredibly underrated when people are picking what fore end they want to use. Like, everybody's all about the Magpul fore end, right? And I have one of those, and that thing is not that easy. It's kind of slippery. It allows you to put like rails and stuff on it, but you know, I got the rail up here and I'm pretty happy with it up here. The problem with having any sort of rail mounted stuff on your fore end right here, where you would, you know, you would actuate it with your thumb, is that when the gun recoils, it smacks you right in the thumb, and that's not very fun to do. It's not very fun to, train with. If you're using this in a defensive encounter, well, who cares? You get a little pain, you get a little boo-boo on your thumb, big deal. But if you're out at the range and you're practicing with this gun frequently, then it gets annoying. It gets annoying to have your thumbs hurt and you're getting boo-boos. I don't like that. But maybe that's a downside you're willing to accept, but personally I don't like that. I would probably rather have a push button activated light that I would just turn on. You lose your cool tactical momentary on and off, but for me, I'm probably just gonna, if I ever had to defend myself with a shotgun, I'm probably gonna hole myself up someplace and call the cops and wait for them to come and just protect my position, because I'm not gonna go out looking for people in my house, presumably. I'm not gonna go do that unless I have to. But yeah, a shotgun is generally a entrenched position where you're saying, this is my line in the sand, you can't come in here, you can't get me past this line, this is my fatal funnel. I set up at the end of a hallway, enter the hallway at your own risk. So that's not a problem for the forend part. I don't care having a forend with rails or anything. However, this forend, it's growing on me. It's kind of ergonomic. Like, you can grab it back here if you are shorter. You got to be careful you don't get your fingers pinched in there, but I'm getting more comfortable with it. I got long enough arms that I can, hold it all the way out there and grab on at the front. But if I had shorter arms, it'd probably be more comfortable to hold it back here. And it's just, I like to have the option of changing my forends, and I'm not really in love with this forend. But at the very beginning I said there is no perfect shotgun. This shotgun has some quirks. The 870 has some quirks. Mossberg 590A1 has quirks too. So, I'm going to end this by saying this is what I think is the best tactical pump shotgun on the market. However, if you don't think so, or if you think that yours is better for you, I would say that they're all so similar that I don't really have any problem. I would never say that your gun is a bad choice for you. However, when I'm selecting a gun for myself or picking a gun that I want to recommend for other people, then all those things go through my mind, all the things we just talked about. The build quality, do I think it's going to rust? The controls, do I think they're going to use a pistol grip? The sights, do I think that the ghost rings are the best setup for them, or do I think they should use a bead sight? Does their gun fit them that they can use the bead sight well? And how easy is it to make it a tactical shotgun? How easy is it to extend that capacity? Because really there's only two qualities of a tactical shotgun that are important: the short barrel and the extended capacity. We didn't even really talk about the whole side saddle thing. So it's become all the rage to put a side saddle on your shotgun, like over here, so that you have like 5 or 6 rounds, basically to increase the capacity on your shotgun. And I haven't really experimented a lot with those. I have had one on an 870, and I was more annoyed that it changed my handling characteristics of it, and it made it not fit in my gun case. Those seem like a petty thing to say, and I'm not going to say that those are reasons to not choose it, but having more rounds is certainly better. But I would say if you need more than 7 rounds in your pump shotgun, I think you should probably just get an AR-15 at that point. Just dump the shotgun. If you're set up in an enclosed or like a defended position, there's no reason you can't have another gun. I'd probably pick an AR-15 over that if you want more rounds. But I'm perfectly happy with 7 rounds on this shotgun. every shot of this shotgun is going to be absolutely devastating. So you get more bang for your buck. Funny, that's a good one. Anyway, so I hope this has been informative for you about tactical shotguns in general, picking maybe a tactical shotgun for yourself. To reiterate as a final note, pick the gun that you like. I'm not going to be there at your firefight. You know, if your gunfight, you're not going to be there at my gunfight. I'm not going to be there looking over your shoulder and be like, what are you doing? What are you doing with that shotgun? Come on. So I don't care. You know, you pick what you want. But hopefully this is giving you some things to think about for when you're choosing your tactical shotgun. I've tried a few, and this one ended up being my favorite. So that might change, but at the moment, I think this is the best tactical pump shotgun you can buy, the Benelli Supernova. Thanks for listening. My name is Jonathan with Steel Bear Academy. If you'd like some more long-winded conversations about guns, I'm always willing to teach you. If you're in the California area in San Luis Obispo County, give us a call, steelbearacademy.com. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.